Okay, in this video we're going to look at compression. Now compression is something which is a bit more an advanced topic to understand, so it's not really appropriate for a beginner course like this. I do offer other courses for teachers where you can learn more about this, where I introduce this in an intermediate course. But to basically give a quick overview, compression is where you even out the volume difference in tracks to make the difference between the loudest parts and the softest parts quieter. And so this is a standard mix tool for pop and rock genres particularly. It's not very useful for classical or jazz, where you want those subtle differences in volume because so much of the feeling and the emotion comes through the volume changes. But in pop and rock, where everything kind of needs to be heard really strong and really loud most of the time through a track, compression is a vital tool. So let's have a look at how we might apply this to a vocalist. So if I'm going to go to our lead vocal track and solo here for a moment, if I go and get myself a compressor, this is my recommended method for compression for students. Now, there's no way, as I said before, we can teach you everything there is need to know about it, and certainly it's very hard to hear compression. It's a very subtle thing which you need to learn to train your ears how to hear. So there's something a little bit further down the track. But for a beginner course, this is what I would say to students, is first of all just to use a preset inside your compressor. Now, I'd usually always don't recommend using presets for things because there's no way the preset designers can know exactly what your unique instrument and sounds that you are recording sounds like. So therefore presets are never really going to work, but it's a good starting point for a compressor as long as we adjust it. So I'm going to go to preset and I'm going to choose a voice, and I'm going to choose a, let's say let's go to studio vocal because she was recording in a studio. Now this has gone and done a few things here. The main thing the preset goes and does for us is it goes and changes the attack and release settings that might be appropriate for the type of thing you've chosen. And it's also going to set the ratio. So we use the preset for the ratio, the attack, and the release. What we're not going to do is we're not going to let it decide our makeup gain, and we're not going to let it decide our threshold, because those are completely dependent upon the volume level that we recorded our tracks at. There's no way the preset designer can know how loud we recorded things, so there's no way they could possibly set the threshold or the makeup gain. It just doesn't work. So let's have a listen to Chantal, and as what I bring this threshold down, that's going to start applying compression to this track, and it's going to make her loudest notes go softer, and we're going to see this meter here go back, and I'm going to get it to where we see around about sort of -3 to 5 of gain reduction, clamping down the loudest parts on her voice.
Don't wanna deal with you and your lies every time a part of me dies.
Okay, so your life and part, those are the strong parts there. So those are the parts that I want to be clamped down by around about 4 to 5 dB.
Don't wanna deal with you and your lies every time a part of me dies. Get out of my mind.
Okay, so the compressor is actually making her quieter at the moment. It is evening things out, but it's making everything quieter by clamping down on the loud parts. However, we want to make everything a similar volume, but at the sort of the loud volume, so that she's going to be clearly heard over the rest of the tracks. And so therefore we also have to use the makeup gain. So if we've got 3 to 5 decibels of gain reduction, the makeup gain needs to be turned up by the same amount. And the end result is we've gone and made her quieter parts of her track louder.
Don't wanna deal with you and your lies.
Without
every
it?
time a part of me dies.
So with no compression on, listen to the part and how loud it is, your life and part.
Don't wanna deal with you and your lies every time a part of me dies.
Now turning this on, it's going to make everything feel a little bit louder.
Don't wanna deal with you and your lies every time a part of me dies.
So you may not be realizing it, but what you're hearing there is the your life and the part are around about the same volume they were before, but everything else in the track has been brought up to be closer in volume to those louder parts. So therefore the volume of the vocal in the mix is much more consistent.
Don't wanna deal with you and your lies every time a
Without
part
it?
of me dies. Get out of my mind.
So therefore the compressor does a really good job of evening out the loudest and the quietest parts, making everything feel more present and more solid in the mix and gets over the top of the other instruments. Now in a mix like this, you'd probably put compression on just about every instrument. Everything's going to have a bit of compression. And I would recommend you don't go too extreme with the settings, nothing more than what we've got here at the moment, which is 3.7 to 1. What that means, don't need to know at this stage. Compressors is something you can get into more deeper later on, but go ahead and put a compressor on a whole bunch of your tracks and experiment with the different presets and see if you can notice a difference. Before I go, I'll just show you one more. Let's say we put a preset of a compressor on the overall drum bus rather than just the individual drum tracks. Let's put it on the overall drums. I'll go to a preset, go to drums, we can see drum mix preset. Once again, ratio has been set, attack and release have been set, makeup gain and threshold, we need to adjust those. Okay, and let's test it in a mix. Now, because this is quite a low ratio on this particular preset, that's a very subtle effect, but it is gluing the drums together just a little bit better. So I'm going to stop there because there's no point showing too much more compression. It's just up to you to have a go now and play around with putting it on the various guitar groups and the drum groups and the back-end vocals and see if it makes the whole mix sort of blend together and a little more, make it a little easier to focus the instruments with your volume controls as well.